Afternoon, good night. How you doing? This is MCM and you're listening to You're Probably Right. Today we are going to have a serious conversation. Well, maybe not a serious conversation, but there's going to be a serious talk happening here. Now, of course, I'm only doing the talking, but just stay tuned. Hello, y'all. It is I, MCM, and here we go again for another episode of You're Probably Right podcast. This is episode 232. But before we get into that, I wanted to just bring something across your table there or wherever you're sitting. Maybe you're not sitting, maybe you're lying down, or maybe you're doing some kind of work or driving. I'm trying to figure out something. So I'm going to need feedback. Feedback is the only thing that's going to let me know which way I should probably go. Okay, for me, when I do these podcasts, because I'm doing it alone, I like to have like instrumentals behind me. Like, for instance, this episode, I have this music that I've played, as many of you know, for those of you who've been listening to my podcast for a while. It's in a lot of my episodes. For me, it helps me focus. I don't know, like I look at the blue skies and my surroundings, and it brings a calming presence. But at the same time, I don't know, because this is audio only still podcast, that I don't know if it detracts or if it helps the podcast. So if you could just email me and just say, you know what, the music is annoying, or you can hit it up on the maybe leave a comment on Facebook or something. Maybe I'll post this one on Facebook so that you know that it's there, and you can just leave a comment and say, hey, please turn the music off or please turn the music up. Like, I really don't know. For me, it's nice to hear it in the background. I try to keep it really, really low where it's not detracting from anything that I'm saying or distracting. But yeah, I'd just like to know. So if you could email me at YPRpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll go by the feedback that I get. Hopefully you do this soon enough. Otherwise, you may hear music every now and then. All right. Anyhow, so this podcast episode's name is not really the coolest, but I guess it gets to the point. It's Love Where You Work, Dating in Workplaces, Schools, and Churches. And I have no idea why I'm so tongue-tied. These last two episodes have been a little... The funny thing is, though, you have these episodes, and the ones that I think are like amazing, people don't necessarily gravitate to so much. But then the ones that I think are horrible, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the way that it's set up. I don't know if it's the description or the analytics, but people gravitate to the ones that I don't think are that hot. So what do I know? Again, the only way I'm going to really know is from your feedback. So, because I think sometimes some episodes get clicked on just because of the subject matter that they think that you think is going to be in the episode, and the way that it's typed out on the various platforms. And then, so I honestly, sometimes I don't know. I'm just trying to do my best. So if I can help one person at the end of all of these episodes, and there's something miraculous and wonderful that happens to that person and their family, then my work here is done. All right. So before I start, I wanted to make sure you know that this podcast is for entertainment purposes only, like all of my other podcast episodes. If you do learn something or something helps you, cool. It's probably purely coincidental. But yeah, you can drop a line, email. You can leave a comment on Spotify or Apple. And please, if you could hit pause right now. I don't know what happened. I had more ratings on Apple, but when you Google my podcast right now, I literally says I think there's 2. So I don't know if they like magically they go away, or if people just change their mind and don't rate it. I don't understand how that goes. But if you could just go over to Apple, if you're on Apple, just because that's the one that seems to show up on Google, as far as I know, when I do my little searches. Of course, I know that your IP address makes a difference, so sometimes I think it just pops up that way for me. But basically, what I'm asking you to do is wherever you can, just rate the podcast. Hopefully, if it's good, please. If it's not good and it's horrible, please don't rate it, because I don't want anything making anything worse than it already is. I'm just being honest with you. Okay, here we go. So, love where you work, dating in workplaces, schools, churches. And I know that I've probably gone over this a little bit before in different ways. So, again, I try to make the podcast as evergreen as possible. And of course, if I have a new understanding or a new learning of something, and, it was a topic or it is a topic that I feel strong about, then I will redo it. And this is why I try to number my podcast, just so that you know that even though it is an evergreen podcast, if the number is a lot higher, maybe you listened to episode 17, I was talking about something. Well, hopefully, if it was podcast, let's say it was podcast 17, then that shows you that it was one of my obviously early episodes, and also that is, like, for instance, today's 232. That's 4 years ago. So I might have had some learning that I could add to what I said in the past, or maybe my mind changed or something, So anyhow, but who knows? You might be a episode 17 person, and I don't even know what episode 17 is right now. So don't even ask me. I just pulled the number out of the sky. Okay. Can you mix love and business without it blowing up your life? Episode 232 of You're Probably Right breaks the old taboo of dating in the workplace. We live and we move, workplaces, schools, churches. And we ask whether the heart really needs to clock out. Anyways, I'm going to get to it. Listen. They told you not to mix business with pleasure. Some people will say don't where you sleep, right? Not to fall for someone in the break room. Not to catch feelings in a study group or a prayer circle. The rule was simple. Don't date where you work, where you learn, or where you worship. But life isn't that simple. And I can honestly tell you, going away from the script, that's not really practical. And the reason why it's not practical is because it always happens. It's natural. You spend so much time with these people, hours. You see them at their lowest. You see them at their highest. You see when they got a new job. You see them when somebody dies in their family. You see them when they get a promotion. You see them when they're baptized. You see them when they got an F on a report card. You see them when they get an A on a report card. You see them when they win the championship. You see them when they lose the championship. You see them when they are riding the bench. You see them when they had the biggest loss of the season and they scored on their own net. You understand? You see these people in your life. You study the Word of God with them, maybe at a church. You've seen them explain their ideas and how they feel. You're seeing these people in these places because they're real people and they're in your lives, and you spend hours on hours, months on months, years after year. You see them grow in different ways. And it's only natural that you're going to have feelings for people who you are around. Now, and again, I'm totally off script right now. And I kind of prefer to do it that way. The only reason why I don't just riff on stuff regularly anymore is because I just want structure for the listener. So this is the reason why. But every once in a while, I might just go off on a tangent. But these people are in your life, and you see them in all these different areas and different situations. And you're a person, and we are social people, or we are social creatures, and we like to look when we're not supposed to be looking. You know, we like to have emotions, and we do have emotions, whether we like to or not. Feelings. Um, for guys, we like what we see a lot, a lot of the time, and sometimes we're drawn off by our own lusts. You know, and just to know the difference between lust and infatuation and emotion and love and and all these different things that we have to deal with every day. But one thing I will definitely say is that if you're a guy, for instance, and your wife is working in a job, and you're married, and she's working in a job and she's surrounded by a lot of men, or she's surrounded by a lot of men who view things the way that she does, and that tends to happen when you have people working in an institution, for instance, like just a lot of, it's very possible, not a job, not a job, but a career, where they're going to be there for years, possibly. Understand, once I'm not saying you send your wife out, but she's out there. And this is the thing, back in the day, the olden times, women were at home, and they weren't exposed to different men from different walks of life and different cultures and different religions. um, a lot of these guys will be single, a lot of these guys won't be, but understand, you do run the risk. And women, it's the same thing, you do run the risk. If your husband works at a place like, maybe works in law, maybe works at school, maybe works at a hospital where there are a lot of women, and there's a lot of women there who have been out of relationships for a long time, never been in a relationship, or they're in relationships right now and maybe their husband treats them horribly, and you're there to listen, you're there to help, you're there to buy them a coffee. You're doing things, maybe the guy at work is doing all these different things that maybe her husband at home doesn't do. There's gonna obviously be a natural tendency for attraction between these people in these situations. So just understand that the best thing I can say to someone is to guard your relationship, guard your marriage. Don't it's funny, a phrase, I don't want to say it that way. um you have to respect your relationship. don't don't overlook your spouse, because just understand, when you're overlooking your spouse, there's someone looking right at your spouse. Okay, is the best way I can put it for you. So take care, and don't be absent-minded and neglectful. Don't neglect your spouse. Women, you know what you're supposed to do in your marriage. Men, you know what you're supposed to do in your marriage. If you don't know, and in general terms, you will know what you should be doing, but make sure that you're checking in with your spouse to see how they feel about things. Okay, that's the best way I can put this information to you. Then the podcast could be over right there, but I continue. Okay, listen. But life isn't simple. People aren't robots. You see someone every day. They get your jokes. Maybe at home they don't. They help out through stress. They know what your Monday looks like, And sometimes they start to mean more to you than anyone outside of those walls ever could. They may not know it, but it's happening. And it happens. So what then? Are you reckless or just human? Is the taboo real or just tradition talking? So in this episode, I'm calling out the lie that you should never love where you live your life. Because maybe, just maybe, the place that pays your bills or builds your faith is also where you find your forever. On this earth, anyway. Okay, segment 1. And I think I need to start saying segment 1, segment 2, because sometimes I just make a statement and then I get into it and I don't know. I want it to flow, but again, I'm trying to pay attention to this thing they call structure. So, segment 1. The myth of don't date where you work, or don't blank where you sleep. The old saying is based in fear. Fear of conflict, fear of things getting weird, fear of career suicide, messy breakups. And those risks, yeah, they're real. But here's the truth. The rule doesn't match the reality. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Up to 43% of people marry someone they met at work. You hear that? 43. Now, I'm not giving you the percentages of those marriages that work out, but this is a reality. 15% of couples met in college. Churches are spiritual homes and social hubs. The myth assumes every romance crashes and burns, but the numbers say otherwise. The real lie, believing these settings are off limits by default. And of course, it is based on fear. People just don't want, they're like, well, what if we break up? Then we gotta do things together every time I'm here at work. They can talk bad about me to other people. You give off some secrets. Maybe you take some pictures. Maybe you've done certain things and you're just the whole time wondering, man, if this goes left, this person knows a lot about me that I wouldn't necessarily want to be told to other people. So it is a real, it's a difficult choice. If you're a social person, chances are there'll be someone you'll want to be social with. And chances are you'll get in your feelings, as they say, about someone there. And it's just how to go about it and how to be as safe as possible. This thing about people having, what is it called? Wubbies or whatever it is, work husbands and work wives and all that stuff. And, you maybe bend their ear, maybe they're a crying shoulder, whatever the case is, things are going to happen, but it's being smart about it is the main thing. Because, it's kind of funny how, society has brought us into this place where people are online dating. And many of the times the person that you're finding are not living in your city or not living in your country. And people are moving from here to there for love. And they move from here to there just to find out that the person wasn't serious. The person was not this or that. And next thing you know, you're in a city for a person and they're not your person, and you're working in a place, you're at a school, you're at a church where people who are like-minded in different ways, you're rubbing elbows with these people. Why look way over there? And it's kind of funny, they have this social media, but it's making us less social. It's allowing us to connect. Of course, our reach is a lot farther, but it's like a lot of the time we're reaching past things. We're reaching past people. You know what I mean? Like there's 80 people you interact with every day. Surely it's very possible that you could find someone there. But no, you're reaching way over there to someone you don't know, who's someone you haven't seen them at their best, seen them at their worst. You don't know what their family's like. You know what I mean? You don't know anything about these people. And just understand, the thing is, I can put on a story for you when you don't see me every day. But when you see me every day, you can just watch the way I deal. You can watch the way I interact. When I'm paying attention to what you're seeing, and when I don't. You know what I mean? You're going to know, maybe you interact with me and you're going to realize I don't brush my teeth in the morning. Like, you know what I mean? Or there's stuff in my eye, or I don't comb my hair properly, or I'm going bald. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, there's could be all these different things that a person who sees you every day, and we'll stick to mostly work. This is mainly what I'm talking about, but I just wanted to kind of bring it to the various places that we would generally see a person a lot, and that would be at your work, at your school, at your church. But you just see these people in your lives, and they're there, ripe for the taking. No. Obviously, you just need to be careful. That's the main thing. But to say don't do it, I don't believe that that's the way, honestly. Segment 2. The science of proximity and attraction. It happens all the time. And there is a science. If you Google it, put in proximity. The science of proximity, and you'll check it out when it comes to attraction. It's there. Why do these relationships happen so often? It's simple. Proximity. You grow close to the people you see every day. Simple. Co-workers, classmates, fellow believers. The more time you spend around someone, the more familiar they become. And that familiarity builds fondness in many cases, or the opposite. This isn't magic, it's just simple psychology. Frequent interactions, shared goals, shared beliefs, seeing people under pressure. That's the stuff that builds real connection, not dating apps. Again, when you're on a dating app, you're just presenting a person. You're presenting a character, and not saying that you can't say I like walks on the beach, and my favorite sport is basketball, and I love to garden, and I'm into designer clothes and fast cars, and maybe I only like Hondas or whatever it is. I'm not saying that when you list all these different things out that you like, that you can't find someone who also likes all of those things. But it's kind of funny. They say, opposites attract, do they? I think in marriages they tend to repel, but anyways, the bottom line is that it's just natural that you're seeing someone in their natural element, and you're either going to like what you see, what you hear, or you're not. And because you're having so much interaction, it's only natural. And that's where I said earlier, guard your relationship. You might date the perfect person, but if you get into a marriage with them and then you start neglecting them, just understand that there's Johnny at work who's not. It's just a reality. Segment 3. Why people still struggle with the idea. Of course, people fear gossip. They fear power imbalances. Maybe it's your boss. Maybe it's your subordinate. They fear what happens if it ends. And again, that is the main thing. And honestly, those fears are valid. The Office isn't a rom-com. I mean, although it looks wonderful on TV or movies, it can be really, really messy, in real life. Churches have reputations. Classrooms are tight knit. You might be in year 3 of university or college, and you have to be in a group presenting something with someone who you broke up with. Might get a little sticky, you know? Might have someone who helps you with your schoolwork, and at the end of you graduating, it's like they're responsible for half of your degree because they did a lot of your homework for you. Who knows? A bad breakup can wreck more than your heart. It can nuke your whole environment. It can seep into your home life in different ways if it goes bad. So, yes, people struggle because the stakes feel very high. But that doesn't make the love fake. It just means it demands maturity. Okay, so here we go, the good part. Segment 4, 20 smart rules for dating where you work or worship or study. Ready? Number 1, know the policy before anything starts. So obviously you don't want to be getting into anything if your job says that you're not allowed to. I know it's different in different countries as well. I know in the States, this could possibly be a rule that you're not allowed to date anybody at your workplace. I don't know that to be true in Canada, but I'm pretty sure maybe there's probably somewhere where it's just totally frowned upon and you will lose your job, or they'll figure it one way or another to oust you. Number 2, never date your boss or direct who you directly report to. It's just not a good look, especially when there's more subordinates. I mean, I guess if you're working in a private company and it's just you're the boss and then there's a secretary or a personal assistant, you spend all your time together, but there's no other people vying for this person's attention or looking to this person for approval on certain topics of work, or certain what do you call it, projects that you may have to do, because it's going to show, favoritism will seep in at some point, obviously. No PDA during work or worship hours. Obviously, PDA is public displays of affection. Yeah, it's you're best not. Number 4, tell HR or leadership once it's serious. Once it's serious, yes, you're going on, you're moving on to that better place, marriage. HR should know. I don't think you need to announce it in many places, but again, if you have, there might be, you have, what did I say? The first thing I said, know your policy. So you have to know the workplace's policy about it. Obviously, there's not going to be a policy against it where you worship. And obviously at school, you can do whatever you want. So mainly at work, we're talking. So I said, I think you might have to in some places in the United States. You have to declare it to HR. But I think in Canada, you can just do your thing. But anyways, once you know the policy, you'll know what you have to do. And that's the first thing you should do, or you should know about. And I'm not saying, hey, go ask HR. Maybe you could. Anonymously, you can always put in a call to HR. You just don't want them to already be looking at you sideways. Nothing's wrong with an anonymous call to HR. 5, keep interactions at work professional. Don't slide into a cupboard and do funny business. You'll get caught eventually. One day you'll have your guard down, 6, separate work from romance. That's obvious. So, like I said, keep your interactions professional in the last one, but separate your work from your romance. So If you're working, you're working. Now, I'm not saying if you're able to do something off campus or off site, you can't mix the two. But when it comes to the work, let the work speak for itself, no matter where you're working, really. Again, like if you're at home and you're doing work for work and the person's sitting on your lap while you're doing work, that's fine, as long as you're able to focus and do proper good work, turn in good work. But in general, just, right now we're doing work. That's what we're doing. And when that's over, we can do whatever else we want to do. Simple. 7, don't cheat. Affairs destroy trust. So if you or the other person are already in a relationship, already in a marriage, all bets are off. I don't care if this person sees you, as they say. I don't care if this person you think completes you. As long as they belong to someone else, that person is off limits. And if you can't control yourself, then do your best to keep it professional and maybe have a talk about it if you're both feeling the same way. Because cheating is just a no-go. And you know what they say, just if you decide to cheat on your wife with someone at work, chances are, even if you leave your wife for that person at work, you're probably going to end up cheating on that person as well, in most cases. And there's a whole bunch of things that just couldn't go wrong. And I would just say, honestly, don't do it. Cheating is wrong regardless. Adultery is wrong, period. So if you're at work and you think, oh, this person is amazing, that guy at home, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't care about me. He doesn't want to talk to me. He doesn't want to anything. All he wants is from me. But I'm telling you right now, give things time. And I think that's a problem that many people fall into, where they're like, they have this opportunity at work, and at home, it just seems like you're dealing with someone who's dealing with all your problems and all their problems, and everything's just out in the open and miserable. At work, where there has to be some professionalism, this person, again, is kind of presenting a certain thing, even though you will see them in their ups and their downs and their good situations and bad situations. Again, this person at work is always dressed up, right? They're always looking their best. In general, obviously, if you're working in a mechanic shop or or working landscaping, it might be a little bit different. But generally, for most workplaces, you're clean, your hair's combed, teeth are brushed, and everything else, and everything's in order. That's what you're seeing. Whereas at home, you see everything, and some things might not be the greatest things to look at. So just remember that this person is all decked out at work, just like the person on social media is all decked out on social media. But remember, at home, the more familiarity there is, the more closeness there is, the more layers are pulled off. And obviously at home, that would be the most layers of anybody is pulled off. You're going to see things you don't like. You may end up stuck in the washroom at the same time. This person might have to go. You know what I mean? Something that you're not going to be exposed to at work or at school or at church. You know what I mean? So you have to take these things with a grain of salt, because when you're at home, all bets are off, all masks are off, all makeup's off, all toupees are off, all fake eyelashes are off. The acrylic nails are growing out. The gel needs to be gelled again. You know what I mean? His socks are dirty. You've seen skid marks in the underwear. Like, I'm just saying, you see everything at home, and there's gonna be turnoffs. You understand? Just like, go to work, or you go to the next extreme, which is social media. They're able to present a certain way, right? Anyhow, I know I probably didn't explain that 100%, but hopefully you kind of get what I'm saying. Hopefully. All right. Where am I? All right, here we go. So yeah, so that was 7. Don't cheat. Affairs destroy trust, of course. 8. Talk about breakup plans up front. So I guess if you're gonna get into something, then it's like, okay, what if things don't work out? Are you gonna hate me for life? Are you going to keep me out of promotion if things don't work out and you end up becoming the boss? Like really, really talk it out. Like how would things? What is the terms of of engagement? The rules of engagement. If we do go down this road, you should still talk it out and figure it out first. 9. Respect each other's careers. Again, so you're not going to do something to sabotage them if things aren't going to work out, or you're not going to push them ahead of somewhere in a certain. Just say you have the say so, you have the power. You're not going to just push them into a job that gives them 30 more thousand a year because you're trying to advance yourself, and then something doesn't work out, and you're going to go tell somebody that you made a mistake and you need to pull them down a peg. Don't do that. 10. Keep gossip to a minimum. So in other words, once 2 people are at a job and they are in a relationship, there's going to be certain things that each of you are going to know. And I think like you shouldn't be sitting there at home, or on a date somewhere saying, you know what Jan said yesterday in the break room about you? Obviously people should know, and people will recognize that you're in something. So most people will have enough sense to bite their tongue about certain things because you're together. So people are going to look at you like one. They're going to look at you like a unit. So you probably don't be surprised if you're not let into the inner circle of certain conversations once you decide to date somebody. So just saying. So be prepared for that, of course. 11. No favoritism in projects. Obviously, I don't think there needs to be anything said. Don't try to give your girlfriend all of the amazing sales leads because you guys are dating now and you're responsible to give sales leads to all the salespeople, and you decide to, kind of, what was that show? Office. Anyway, Office person would know. People who like that show. Jim and Pam, right? Anyways, moving right along. 12. Avoid drama, public or private. Okay, don't get into all the whole craziness. Like, just understand that yes, you work with this person. So, definitely, just keep it straight. Just keep everything work, and keep home. Moving right along. 13. Don't isolate. Stay social outside the couple. So, in other words, don't all of a sudden be closed off. Be yourself still. And, that's what was attractive in the first place. So don't all of a sudden, I can't talk to you guys now because I'm dating this guy over there. Because if the relationship doesn't work out and you want to be social with those people, are going to be like, well, we're done with you because you decided that you're over here now and you're Team Bob. And now that Bob's gone, it's like, well, Bob's your uncle. 14. Use discretion, not secrecy. So, just be smart. Use your head. Okay, it's not all about just creeping around everywhere. Because again, you can creep around as much as you think or try to. But remember, there are audio recording devices and there are video recording devices. And you never know when one is going to be set up, and you don't want to look like an idiot because you're trying to be sneaky. It's very difficult. Espionage and secrecy and spy ism is not very easy, but it is very easy to be caught. So, anyhow, 15, support each other and support each other's goals. So don't all of a sudden try to hold the other person back and say, "Oh, don't worry, I got that." You don't need to do that anymore because I'm going to be over here, because you never know. I mean, honestly, until you decide to maybe get marriage as a like, really look at marriage as an option for you too. Um, don't try to hold the other person back, because if things don't work out again, and I know that it sounds like you're working off of fear, but it's not, you're working off of fear. You're just being prudent and you're being smart. So just try not to stop anybody's progress in succeeding in their job, especially when you certainly haven't tied the knot yet, and you're just trying to date the person or whatever it is you're up to. Let's see. Be honest about your intentions. Don't sell somebody a whole life when you're really only trying to trick them into a few weeks or a couple dates or a couple sessions or whatever. So be honest what you're looking for. If everybody's upfront, the less chances of somebody being totally devastated and hurt, and the less chance you have of mucking things up at work. And I guess I can't stress that one enough. Be honest for what you're in it for. If you're just looking for someone to give you some comfort for a time or a rebound or whatever it is, then you better be honest about that, because you can totally wreck someone's life if you're not honest. 17, set boundaries for time and space for that relationship outside of work. Make sure you're given time, but you're not stealing time at work. Simple. Remember, your job, your school, your church is not your dating app. So in other words, you can't be just dating Cindy from accounting and then dating Maggie from the front office and back and all over the whole place. Like, if you're really, really going to get into this, you have to get into it understanding that you may only be able to do this once. So if you're really going to get into it, please, please, please know what you're doing, because you don't want to end up being the office mattress. You know what I mean? Or the office trick, or I can think of a lot worse words. Just be careful, because you might only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow, because opportunity comes on. You know what I'm saying? You can't be all over the place with this one at all. This is funny to me in some ways. I'm sorry about that if it. Okay. 19. Don't treat coworkers like backup plans. In other words, you have your situation and your situation goes left, but you're talking to Charlie from shipping and receiving. You know what I mean? And if things don't go good over here, you can fall back to this guy and use him like a crying shoulder, or as a way to appease your energies and emotions and hormones. You know what I mean? Because these are people, and people you work with, and hopefully people you like. 20, act like a grown-up always. Now, I'm not saying you have to be all stuffy. You keep your humor, keep your comedy stylings and your jokes, but at the same time, don't do childish things to sabotage someone inside or outside of a relationship at work. Act like a grown-up. You're in a professional place. So don't try to make somebody feel bad every day. Don't try to control somebody every day because you're at work in your relationship with them, and now you're their boss, even though you're not their boss, but because you're in a relationship. Like, act like a grown-up. Be professional. Be decent. Be nice. Be loving. All right. Segment 5. What it looks like under pressure. When these relationships go sideways, the fallout is public. You might be discreet, but you don't know necessarily what this other person's going to do. And that's where you're taking a chance. One quits, one spirals out of control because of the breakup. The team suffers. It's awkward. It's tense. You got to walk into this person's area of work and you broke up, you broke their heart, right? So these are the things that you're looking at. And this is how you have to be very, very strategic, very, very smart, very, very wise. And sometimes, especially in power imbalances cases, it becomes a scandal. Yes, it can. And I'm thinking of the those two people who were caught at the Coldplay concert a while back, and they were ducking and dodging and trying to hide. It can become left. It can go left even if you're not on work site. So let it be known. Don't cheat, but also you may want it to be public because, as I said, there's so many different recording devices, and you never know when you're going to be recorded. You know, it's hard to get away with anything these days. So be honest, be straight up, be fair. But under pressure, the strongest couples stand out. Two, they handle tension like adults. They draw lines between personal and professional, and their love becomes part of what makes them better, not broken. Segment 6, story time. Just a small little thing. Listen, from cubicle to covenant. She worked in HR. He was in accounting. Different departments, same floor. They bumped into each other over the coffee machine for 6 months straight. No flirtation, just real talk, real laughs, real thoughts, real support. One day, they grabbed lunch. 2 years later, they got married. Now, they've moved to different firms, same city, still together, still grateful they didn't listen to the rules. Sometimes the healthiest love stories begin under the same fluorescent lights. And that is also something to really think about too. If you do decide to get someone or be with someone in a relationship, and you're really, really serious, and your job does have different work locations, you might say, someone might say, well, yeah, I'm not going to go move my work location. What if somebody else tries to slide in there? Um, and that is valid. But at the same time, it might be an idea to change work locations if you don't have to go far. It doesn't disrupt your whole life. Just to give each other space. You know, maybe you are meant to be together, but maybe if you do want to keep it professional as possible, if you can switch your location of where you're going every day, might help your relationship out a little bit. Okay. Listen, you don't need to fear love where you labor. You just need to be wise about it. Most people don't meet their soulmates at a rooftop bar or a rooftop party, I was going to say. They meet them in everyday grind. So don't kill a connection just because it showed up where you weren't supposed to find it, supposedly. If it's real, respect it. If it's risky, name it. If it's worth it, fight for it. With wisdom and not with impulse. You're probably right that love can grow in the least expected places, but you're also right to treat it like it matters. Okay, so just remember, y'all, it can work, but you just have to be honest. You have to be professional. You have to be smart and discreet at the same time. Not secretive, but discreet. Anyhow, good luck with it. And this is just a thought, right? It's something that you heard. I might have said one thing that makes sense to you, hopefully. Or maybe I made everything make total sense, and that's why you shouldn't do it. But just, in reality, we are social creatures, and who we socialize with, we tend to end up having feelings for one way or the other. Anyhow, Until next time, I am MCM, and you are listening to You're Probably Right. See you again. Take care. Hey, come check out You're Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere.